Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Thank you for joining me on this fine evening. Just enjoying a bit of my favorite Shiraz. And thinking to myself, I'm an idiot for forgetting to record the latest Donkey Kong Country Returns episode. Get away, cat! You don't belong here! I'm trying to enjoy a nice cup of wine and ignore the fact that JD directed me to record some sort of video blog to make up for the fact that I am a buffoon. So today I thought I'd bring you here to my humble apartment, please don't tell people how I live, and discuss with you a different type of video game than we normally discuss. Well, a different type of game entirely than we do in our podcast and Let's Plays, known as Press Start to Start. You see, just today, I was attempting to set up a type of game with people over the internet, using this mystical force that we like to call a massive World Wide Web. And this type of game is known as a tabletop role-playing game. Now, recently my cohort, James, perhaps you know him as JD, has been talked into playing these kind of games with one we call Pirates of the Spanish Main. And he's been enjoying it somewhat, and I've always figured that almost anyone who likes playing games for something besides just, a test of skill, who likes games for the stories and for the character progressions in the same reason that I play games, would like tabletop RPGs. Because they're all about coming up with a story and having a character and progressing, and they allow you for way more interaction than most video games allow you to. Like, if you don't know how tabletops work, it's pretty much a video game. Most video games nowadays, as you probably know, are based off of RPG systems in some way, and to their possible detriment, based off of your opinion. But tabletops are really the ultimate video game, in that you have a character, they level up, and you can tell them, you can roleplay as them, to do whatever the heck you want. All based around a mission or a story that someone, the dungeon master or the game master, comes up with. And I love them just because they're so emergent, which was a buzzword a couple years ago in the video game world. And they're in their own way procedural, in that the DM comes up using procedures with this world. And if they're a good DM, they can, improvise cool characters and stories. But the problem is, it's really hard to replicate that kind of thing in video games, because the programmers have to plan on every single possible thing the characters can do. It's part of video games and programming. You have to account for every single possible thing the users can do. Like, if you don't understand that concept, then this entire vlog will be pretty much wasted on you. But if a player wants to be able to hold up a bartender where they probably met the rest of their group, and then you have to program in that ability. You can't, without taking up massive amounts of hard drive space and processing power, have the computer figure out, what should I do? No one's ever done this before. It's an impossible problem. And that's why it's really kind of a shame that there isn't more support for tabletop RPGs in the video game type of system. And I don't mean like a Dungeons and Dragons based video game doesn't exist, because they do. Or Cyberpunk 2077 is based off of Cyberpunk 2020. I mean, there aren't video games that allow for someone to take the role of the Dungeon Master and determine themselves, act as the part of the computer, because that essentially, in video games, if you assume every single video game is some type of RPG in either a very simplified sense or not, then the computer is essentially being your game master. It's seeing what the players are trying to do and then determining how the system reacts to that. And that's exactly how Dungeon Masters / Game Masters work. So, where am I going with this? So, the problem is, there's no real happy medium. In that, what's nice about video games is you have a way to gather everyone around one single coherent system. And all of them communicate quickly together and have all of these things pre-built for the players. And in a tabletop RPG, generally, you can buy modules, but let's not even get into that. The Game Master has to make up all of it. You have to gather everyone either at the table or online. Everyone has to make up everything for it. There isn't really any good system for support for that. And that's one of the things when the Wii U was announced and they showed this tablet, and basically it created this asymmetrical gameplay. That's what tabletop RPGs are. The GM has fun by coming up with the entire scenario and running everyone through it and saying, okay, because he has a really high intelligence, he can see through the fact that you were lying. Whatever. When the Wii U was shown, this thing right here, this is essentially the Dungeon Master screen. And Penny Arcade even made this really great comic that pretty much boiled it down. You have 3 people sitting on the couch. Couch. 2 of them are players. They have Wiimotes. One of them has the Wii U controller, the gamepad. He is the Dungeon Master. He lays out levels. He moves the monsters. He keeps track of stats. Why doesn't that exist? Why hasn't it been announced yet? We don't know. Why doesn't something like that exist in easy form on the PC? We don't know. There are a couple things that are available. For a couple of years we used this neat little application called Map Tool, and it worked okay. It allows you to keep track of dice rolls. There were a couple things. Just recently, this web application called Roll20? Roll20 Net has a bunch of cool applications that it actually seems like the best thing for that so far, but they don't have much funding. And it's so weird. This entire business, that the whole tabletop thing makes, I don't know figures, but makes a lot of money. Enough that people subsist off of it, enough that it continues to sell things. I myself have a bunch of books and figurines and stuff based off of that. So how come there hasn't been a connect between that? Why isn't there a mainstream D&D / GURPS / whatever, just D20 Modern system available on consoles? I don't know. And that's what I'm here to complain to you about, because there really needs to be. And I was thinking about it today. Roll20 seems awesome. I'm excited to try to use it at some point in the future. I'm already planning together a group to try it out, and hopefully it'll stick around, and hopefully it'll make money, and hopefully we'll feel the need to spend money on it. It's just strange. Video games are tabletop RPGs. RPGs were invented... Okay, I don't want to definitively say first, just because I really hate being wrong. But D&D came out in the early 70s. How many video games were there in the early 70s? The first famous, actual video games where you played as a character were based off of tabletop RPGs. Adventure and Zork. They're based off of these pen and paper ones. So why hasn't there been a decent attempt to imitate that using an actual game master instead of using just created systems? I don't know. But there should be. And that's really the conclusion that I came here to make to you tonight. Now, allow me to enjoy my Thursday, please. And I think you should too. Enjoy it. And if you've never checked out a tabletop RPG before, maybe you should try it. It's a whole new type of video game playing, without the video game. Although, it would be nice if there was the video game. I'm Jeff Wax, and you should press N to end.